Welcome to the Do Good Work podcast. Today we're talking to Alex Martino. Alex, in the last 5 years, he's been working to grow and scale e-commerce brands into the tens of millions of dollars. And his ads, so his advertisements online, have been seen by billions, getting him featured in Yahoo, Forbes, Business Insider, MarketWatch, and much more. And from his learnings or from his activities growing e-commerce brands, he's been able to develop a concept of an e-commerce app funnels. And with that, he's been able to found his company, The Scaling Group, where after just a few months of its inception, he was able to grow that to a multi-million-dollar company. And he is making a true entrance into the digital entrepreneurship economy. He's on a mission to help everyday people become free from the 9-to-5 grind and replacing that through a multi-six-figure earning active income as well as passive income generated through e-commerce. Today's episode, we dive really deep into, not really deep, but pretty deep into some advertising strategies, especially for our e-commerce advertisers out there, and understanding a little bit more about the e-commerce app concept and e-commerce app funnels, which to me is fascinating. So I hope that you find that this interview with Alex to be fruitful for you. If you're either A, already in e-com, or 2, you're spending on ads online, or 3, you're looking to one day, make the leap, the entrepreneurial leap. Cool, Alex. Thanks for being on, man.
Pleasure. Great to connect.
Hey, I'm excited to talk to you for a few reasons, not only your experience on growing e-com brands, but also kind of like seeing the trends of what's happening in e-commerce today, from white label to dropship to private label. I'm just curious to know, what got you into the space to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I fell into e-commerce. I started in the whole agency and lead gen space. That was really like my bread and butter. I was doing lead generation for local businesses. All the while I got into it by, I don't know if you're familiar with Ty Lopez or like social media marketing. Those were the ads, Ty Lopez's social media marketing agency ads. Those were the ads that got me into this whole thing. So that was like really my foot in the door, but I found more success in lead generation originally. Proceeded to drop out of college to go into a corporate field job. I was working for a Fortune 500 franchise, manage about 400 different local lead generation, basically just franchisees, manage those on a day-to-day basis for about 7 months, all the while bridging over into e-commerce because they also did online sales for the memberships of the fitness franchise. That just started to lead me down the path of pursuing e-com. About 2 years back, I really got into it. And then I met my former business partner and we started a whole done for you e-commerce division where we built the whole media team, built all the stores for our clients. And that's where we've progressed to today. Doing it on behalf of people looking for passive income, and that's anyone from investors to everyday people just have some money laying around, want to get this going, as well as we've done it for like brands and celebrities before as well.
That's pretty cool. You've taken, just so I can dissect this, because I also started in the lead gen space,
Sure.
back in the day. I think a lot of people have,
Yeah.
which is exciting, cool. The accessibility of and the learnings you get from that. So just to break it down for our audience here, you started providing services to the market, then you also learned almost like the retail side of running franchises, running businesses on a physical level, but then you took that to the online space. But then now your new model is to package not only the store, but do you also provide the services to provide sales to people who are looking to create an e-commerce store? How does that look like?
Sure, yeah. So we're doing everything for them. So that's everything from basically building the store to advertising the store to doing finance management, tracking everything, shipping, logistics, all of that's done on our client's behalf.
That's exciting. So you're pretty much setting up like an asset, a real asset that produces a return. It's almost like an investment at that point.
Yes.
Okay. What got you into positioning? Because that's a cool offer. What got you into positioning that offer or creating that offer to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. So myself and former business partners, we saw the trends going, like how much people were making in the course space, like selling self-learning courses. We did that for a period of time and then realized that we weren't really the best coaches. We were trying to outsource everything and we didn't really enjoy that. And we looked at the prices people were selling that at. And then we had one client that we actually just ran ads for as an agency. and they were making like an astronomical amount more money than us selling done for you with $20,000 to $30,000 front end investments. And we're like, why don't we just do that? We have all the knowledge to do that ourselves. And that was where we transitioned from the done with you or like course coaching space to just doing it on behalf of investors. Quite honestly, it's a more streamlined and more functional business model instead of leaving everything in the hands of the student, if you will, because there's a lot of variance there and it leads to a lot of people that get results and a lot of people that don't. So we just started doing it for people.
I dislike using this term, but you're almost packaging a business in a box, sort of, right? Because then you're owning or you're controlling every piece of
Yeah.
the puzzle. You mentioned that in before we got on, like you mentioned around creating apps for e-commerce. Can you explain to me a little bit more about the apps that you've created or how an app would work in this kind of model?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started to go into creating assets for our clients, or in most cases, investors, we realized that we would have to be 3 times better than like the whole market at all times to produce enough profit for us, our client, and to cover product costs and ad costs. Because there's a lot of people that get into e-commerce, a lot of people that fail. And we realized that it was going to be hard to set a precedent where we could get the same result for everyone if we're competing against everyone. So we realized very quickly that if you go develop an app and then run those same ads you're running to a website on Facebook to an app, our advertising cost is 8 to 10 times cheaper. So we realized it would be much more fluid to be able to do that and easily deliver consistent results that way. So what we do is Drake actually uses the same platform that we do to develop the app he has. And like we're using this whole platform, we've integrated directly with, they're working side by side with us. They're over $30 billion or $30 million company in terms of VC funding. I think they're valued at like maybe 600 million right now. But we've directly integrated with them and they've been helping us in that way. So we can take the Shopify stores, push them to the App Store on iPhone, and then run ads on Facebook to iPhone apps. And yeah, it's a really cool partnership we've formed with them. It's not public yet, or else I could drop the name, but we've been really fortunate to be able to work side by side with them to launch our clients in this way.
That's actually genius because with what's going on with Facebook costs, I'm sure you're aware. I have teams, we spend millions a month in Facebook, and with the whole iOS, this will get really technical here for our audience listening, but with iOS, what's going on right now is that with the privacy features, we're seeing some skyrocketing costs, especially we're seeing the sunset of the traditional drop shipping e-commerce businesses that just drop ship from Alibaba, created their own Shopify store, and then sold directly to stores. That, according to some articles that I've seen on the Wall Street Journal, is like a $10 billion breakup with advertisers. But this is actually a way to mitigate that risk by creating an app and actually doing in-app
Yeah.
ads and even going to probably spending money on Apple's native platform.
Yeah, it's quite powerful because not only are we, if you are familiar with e-commerce yourself or the audience, back in 2016 there was this thing called free plus shipping. It was very lucrative. It works with apps. So our front end acquisition strategy is a free plus shipping offer positioned very uniquely to get them to download the app and buy immediately. And then after we get massive volumes of basically consumers through the app, then we start running push notifications, which are instantly enabled when they make their purchase. So we have push notifications, which is, once again, it's very technical, but it's about 8 times more powerful than email in terms of open rates, at least compared to our average, compared to what we see within the app. Plus, we still have their name, email, phone number. So we have all the traditional advertising channels plus push. And we do try to push to also get Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger as well. So we're just trying to get
Perfect.
every channel we possibly can to
I love
contact the
that.
consumer. Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to nerd out on the marketing side because this is growing up in direct response. But so everything that we, for our audience here to know. So when it comes to marketing strategy, you typically have a top of funnel, a front end offer to people to get you in the door. Let's, for example, you're going to the mall, you see these signs say, hey, we have a huge sale, 60% off. That's just to get you in the door. But then when you're in the door, in the actual store, you're reviewing, you're looking at product, you're looking at merch, and then maybe you walk to the back of the store. And that journey, that physical journey, when you take that and translate that online, is We have a top of funnel front end offer just to get you in hooked in. But then when you're in there, we try to ensure that you are more engaged with the platform, in this case, an app or the store, and giving you
Yeah.
bundles, deals, discounts, following up via email, giving you value adds, building a cool relationship with you on social, doing follow-up SMSs and now push notifications. And if you follow the podcast for any time, I'm a fan of turning off all notifications. Sorry, Alex.
No, you're fine.
but
I do
but
the
there are
same.
yeah. But there's some apps that, I mean, a lot of people don't even do that. So having that impression rate is there. And I think that's a really smart way of how we're digitizing even further stores and creating brands. I'd love to talk about, because I've seen like a lot of ads for what's it? I mean, for me personally, I've seen a lot of ads for Athletics, for Built, and they all seem to have an iOS app. Is that because they're following the similar model?
They are, in most cases, yeah. It's a great way to, there's a lot of features with it. We can advertise to our most active audience within the app. Some really cool stats too is like and I have friends that I didn't believe this stat at first, but I look at their phone and I'm like, they haven't deleted apps since like 2014. People will keep the app even if they turn off push notifications, which is rare in itself. They will keep the app for sometimes years at a time, even if they never open it. Depending on the audience or the offer or like the niche, for example, we're going into, there's certain ones, for example, the parenting niche, we can push notification all day because they're always on their phone. There's some niches where like it's more likely that they could turn off or they don't want to be bugged as much. For example, like the meditation and spiritual stuff, like sometimes they're more common that will actually push less to them. So there's a lot of little nuances to it, but it's definitely a very unique strategy, and we haven't really talked about it too publicly yet. So it's pretty cool little bit to share on the podcast.
That's exciting. I appreciate your transparency. And I want to shift, because if the theory, because here, let's go to like theory land and just look at
Yeah,
comparisons, because you've done the coaching, you've done the whole consulting digital course
yeah,
model. And like I've kind of live in that world with some of the people that we work with.
sure.
In theory, anyone could create an app and
Yeah,
follow a similar pattern this way in order to hedge against some of the, I guess, marketers' worst nightmares, which are less tracking, as
yeah.
well as the new iOS, I think it's the email relay, where you actually hide your email
Oh
and that
no.
goes to an iCloud, and that becomes like email deliverability is like it's getting lost, or tracking is getting lost. Like I think having an app is like a hedge against that risk.
It is, especially if you can. It's against Apple's policy really to tell people to make sure we can track them. But even with that, even if people turn off tracking, we still have very accurate tracking for the actual downloads and purchases. We don't really have track of if people say no to allowing in-app tracking. We don't have track of what they're purchasing, but we don't have track of that on Facebook side. Apple will still show us, and our integration with the developers will also show us what they purchased. But like the data of the type of product they purchase, if they click no to tracking, we can't see that on Facebook. But either way, our match rate's like 2 to 3 times higher than running ads to a conversion pixel on a website. So it's definitely helped from a marketing and technical standpoint. It's helped us a lot.
And you would use, again, super nerdy again, you would use either Segmetrics or Hyros for the through and
I,
through attribution.
I use Hyros pretty much exclusively, but I don't really have a reason. Just it's worked for us and we've ran it for a while. So
I love
never
it.
tried Segmetrics.
Yeah, I heard mix on both, so it's just good to know. That's pretty interesting. That's a really cool way to hedge. And I know that we're getting really deep in some of these marketing things, but I think it's key for if you're right now a consumer and you're reviewing every advertising that you're getting, being conscious and aware of what information you're giving out there and how your activities are being monitored. And love it or hate it, and sometimes I get extraordinarily really good ads of products that I
Yeah.
really need. And this is great. Like I never thought I needed this product. This would be really useful. So I appreciate that. And even being from the advertiser side. But it's also, if you're a business owner or a small business owner and you're looking to spend and being able to grow successfully online with advertising, I think it's important to be able to understand the new roadblocks that are put in place, especially with the lack of tracking, lack of attribution, and kind of it's the good old days where you can just spend money and you'd make a 2-to-1 return pretty easily aren't here as they used to be. But you can still create, in my opinion, with the app, you're probably creating stronger returns than that.
We
But
are.
you have to
Yeah.
be more sophisticated as to how you're going to get the right data and make the right decisions off that data without flying blind.
Our goal is to break even on the acquisition cost,
Yeah.
and then we make all the money on the push notifications.
So the relationship and the branding and the relationship with the actual consumer, right? The
Yeah,
referrals, the upsells.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the front end before if you purchase something online and you purchase a product and then you have another page, it's called an upsell. That's how we can recoup on the front end. We actually, once they purchase the front end product, which is free plus shipping offer, they are able to one click add additional things. I mean, that's been a cool integration to develop as well. Apple Pay works within the app, which is also pretty cool. A lot of little nuances we have integrated. The really cool thing I'd say is like influencers or micro influencers too. Apps are even more potent for them
Hmm.
because they can track their most engaged following. They can really build loyalty off the platforms that they may have gained their following from. Because I see many people, you hear YouTubers talk about all the time, Instagram influencers, like they're being shadow banned or they're being censored,
Yeah.
and you can't really censor someone on a app that they control. So it's definitely a cool way of, if they are willing to promote to their audience, they can easily translate the audience over to an app and give benefits within it. Like most engaged followers are getting this week. So they can really build a tribe around it instead of it just being a way to monetize their following. They can really build a loyalty within that, because I know a lot of influencers are worried to monetize their following. We've been able to see quite the opposite in terms of how their consumers perceive that relationship when they translate it to another app.
And that's actually a good macro trend right now with people wanting belonging and being able to be part of a community and exclusive without distractions. I'm curious to know, I think the begging question will be like for our listeners, as well as even just curious how you would approach it, is the next best steps to create an app. Because
Sure.
I'm not personally a developer. So I think there are low barriers, no routes
Yeah,
to do that. But I'm curious to know your
there are.
suggestions.
There's quite a few options on Shopify. We'll keep it blank on who we're working with directly. But
Yep.
if you were to download Shopify or build a Shopify store, which Shopify is an e-commerce platform, just in some cases WordPress can be. There's tons of them. Wix, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, I could name a ton, but Shopify, that platform does have app integrations where you can actually work hand in hand with developers to custom code an app. And it is more plug and play than custom code. You literally would just go to shopify.com/marketplace, I think, and you can search for, there's a ton of options actually. Yeah, it's a great way to do it. And then it does get way more technical on the back end with how you integrate it with Apple and then how you integrate it with Facebook and how you become developers on those platforms. And honestly, those processes could change, but it's something, all the app development companies that integrate with Shopify have documentation on how to set the whole thing up. It's just a matter of picking one.
Interesting. That's key. No, I
So it
appreciate
is
that.
plug and play though, to be honest. And there's a reason we've been able to implement it so fast for our clients and get the support we have, because it's not a whole like team in India that needs to develop this stuff. We've found platforms that are pre-built to just drag and drop these assets in, and we'll build out all the images in bulk, all the graphic design, all the products. We'll figure out what products are trending in the market, and within 7 days we have everything pushed to Apple, and within 7 days from there everything's pushed to Apple, approved, and ads are live. It's a really quick turn.
That's exciting. I'm curious to know as we conclude our conversation here, I think we can talk for quite a bit about
Yeah.
strategies, but I kind of just want your take, Alex. Like where do you see e-commerce going? What
Yeah.
excites you the most about it? And maybe give me a 5-year horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. So e-commerce is definitely going in the direction of, you need to build loyalty with customers.
Yep.
Everyone has been burned in some way ordering something that is shipped from China and it takes 2 months to arrive. I don't think there's many people that haven't gone through that. Really, people want to know where things are coming from and that they really are in good hands with whatever they purchase. Otherwise, it results in chargebacks, which is an issue for the consumer and the brand, and it just doesn't build a good trust. In terms of the advertising platforms, us as advertisers need to be more careful of how we represent brands, just because everyone's been burned. We need to make sure that we're being more transparent, I think, than the whole advertising industry has been in the past. In terms of where e-commerce is going, it's definitely trending up. It's not going anywhere, obviously. Amazon, any platform of that size, like they're leading the market for a reason, to the point that they've been able to transition from an online into retail as well, with Amazon releasing like their own stores, the fresh stores, all this stuff. It's definitely going to grow. The one thing you virtually can't lose money on is investing in companies of that size that are in the e-commerce industry. Not guaranteeing anything, but I'd say it's quite unlikely that you could invest in Amazon and go down long term, at least. So I definitely see this whole e-commerce thing growing. I think there will be more competitors to Amazon hitting the marketplace, trying to grab market share. I don't think Amazon will lose the market share, but there will definitely be other leaders that come into play. 5-year horizon, though, I could see retail being seriously in trouble with how easily accessible online shopping is, and with the turnaround times that some brands are able to achieve with delivery of product. Never been great at looking out 5 years. My whole life kind of changes in a 90-day period. But I would say that we're going to grow. There's going to be more competitors though into the space, and retail will be seriously in trouble. So I think it is really important, if you are looking to start something, I would seriously consider online business, obviously, because it's where the market's headed. And yeah, competitors will come and go. But if you can build something sustainable that does deliver quality and trust to customers, you will have no issue staying long.
I think those are the key differentiators: quality, number one, first and foremost, and then that trust factor, that engagement, that community. Alex, I appreciate you being on. For our listeners out there, what's the best place for them to go to? One, thank you for being on, and two, learn a little bit more about what you're up to?
Appreciate it. Thank you. The best place to go to is going to be, if you want to connect with me directly, it's Instagram. It's Alex Martino, AlexMartino. And then Scaling Group LLC is our company. It's Scaling, SCALING, Group, GROUP, LLC.com. That has our whole portfolio and what we've done. And yeah, if you were interested in getting something set up for yourself, that's where you'd go, to the contact page on the website.
Well, thank you, Alex.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us today. It's an honor to be a small part of your journey. And if you gained a new insight on today's episode here with Alex, please head on over to Apple Podcast and leave a comment with the insight that you learned. And while you're there, you can leave us up to a 5-star review. And if you have any topic suggestions or questions from today's episode, or any topics that you want us to go deeper on the podcast, please send us a line at podcast@dogoodwork.io. That's podcast@dogoodwork.io. I said send us a line, meant to say drop us a line, but you get what I mean. But this is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.